Hello, uh, good day to everyone. I'm making a tutorial on this turban. I think the major focus should be on how to make the net. It's not making of the bow. I know making of the bow is easy, but I'm going to be explaining a little bit on how to make the bow as well. So in making this net, I have fixed everything about the net, but the in some part of this video you are going to be getting the details of how to prepare the net. But for now, let's just go with the design. How to prepare the net is part of this video, so you will get it along as you watch the video. Okay, so when you are done preparing the net, you see that first of all I created a circle, and then I fold this circle into what I have now. The measurement of your art wire has to go with the size that you want for your bow. So for a single one, you can get let's say 14, because you are going to fold it into two, or you can get 12. But when it is a double one, then you should be getting up to like 25 and so on. Okay, so now we sew the middle of the net, especially when you are using one to create two. The reason is to make it smooth again. So that's why I say that I'm sewing the middle. I'm using it to gather the fabric to that point there, so that the remaining part can be smooth. Okay, so that's the reason for that. So after preparing them all right, I have about three different ones prepared. So out of this one, I got two out, and then I will be using the remaining ones the way they are. I'll just attach it straight to the uh, first one I hold. All right, and it is good that you prepare how you want it to look before fixing it on the turban. Don't carry it to your turban and start sewing on your turban when already you are not sure of how you want it to look. So you can see clearly that I just try to like position it, look at how it will fit into the turban, and then I'm sewing it first in my hand before I'll transfer it to the turban. So that is how I prepare my own. So after that, we talk about the bow. There are some few mistakes people make with making of bow. They just fix in the crillone. They don't know that they had to push. If you don't push the crillone, it will not be shiny. It will not be firm and looking that perfect. You look at how my own is shiny here. So that's the reason you have to push. So for you to push your crinoline, you start by using your needle to hold the beginning down. You push and push until you get, when you push, more crinoline will be going into it, and the crinoline itself will be rising. So it will be confirmed in the material. Then when you get to the end, you also pin it down before you start to cut, fold and cut. All right. So for this particular bow, the size I'm using is 12. So 12 inches. So when you fold, you get 6 6. But if you want yours big, I think you can do like 14, between 14 and 16 will be longer than what I have. But this particular one I have is 12. Sometimes when I want my bow to be very short, I do 10. Okay. So we prepare the bows, we just tie all of the bows down, and then after that we begin to fix it to see uh, that is to suit what we want. So you can see that I just continue sewing and cutting, sew and cut. Meanwhile, I already push it before. So you just continue to sew and cut. So We are going to look at how we can prepare this wire. So we are going to be using the soft art wire, that very soft one. That's what we are going to be using. So the measurement I have is 14. Okay. So to make the ones that you are not going to fold, hmm, you start by curving the edge, because if you just make it a circle and try to curve the edge at last, it has a way of gathering and it will not be too smooth. Then the edge, which is where you see me folding now, you have to fold it like a circle. After you finish wrapping it, before you now press it again to form that leaf angle. Huh? So you have to like, so you can use your sellotape to hold it down, or you can go ahead and use a thread to hold it down. After that, you cover it with your fabric, and then you cut out the size of the art wire for your net. So just a little bit longer than the art wire is what you will cut, a little bit, so you can see my own distance there. And then after doing that, you use your thread to sew. Please use a machine thread. Use a machine thread, all right? So don't use any contrasting thread. Use a machine thread, so that when you are turning it, because we are going to be using the same fabric of the turban to turn the edges of the wire. So please use a machine thread. So we start by holding down the edges. My daughter is the one helping me to sew this now. She has become an expert in it. So most times she's the one I always ask to do it for me. So the edge there, I like to like hold it down into 4 places so that it will not be shifting. But my daughter will just go ahead and sew. You know, children, they are very smart with their own work. It's unlike us adults that we try to, you know, do the things the way we just think will not make mistake. But for her, she has a way of doing it that she will just sew everything and it will be so smooth. So the bottom line is that we are trying to sew it to be smooth. All right. So when trying to sew it to be smooth, you have to be patient in sewing it. So if you cannot just go ahead and sew it straight like my daughter is doing, you are going to first of all hold the 4 edges down by using your thread to tag the beginning, tag the end, tag the center from the left, tag the center on the right, and then it will be a little bit firm for you to sew. Nevertheless, it still takes some kind of time for you to be able to get it done, to as in for it to be really smooth. All right, and that smoothness is part of the beauty of the net. So you really have to ensure that it is smooth. You really have to ensure that it is smooth. All right, so that is that's for that. That is for that. My daughter will do the sewing, and when she's done, I'll show you the finishing. Okay, you can see how she's taking her time to make sure that you don't sew more than is needed from any of the sides, because if you don't take your time to make sure of that, you might just end up sewing more than is needed on one side, and then at the end of the day you find out that the fabric cannot get to the other end anymore. So you would have wasted all your time. You have to like lose it again. Okay, and even with what I cut, because of the way you have to pull to make sure that it is smooth, you see that we even still have some excess fabric coming out of the ending of it, which we also have to trim out at the end of the day. We have to trim it out. So you can see how it came out. We are done sewing now, and you see that there is excess So we have to trim out uh the excess part of it, because if you don't trim it out, when you want to use your material to hem the edge, you have a little bit of challenge trying to do that. So it is ready. You see how smooth it is. So this is what we do for all sizes, big, small, or whatever. So we'll come to the sewing machine so that we can turn it for you to see. So when I want to turn, I just cut the same fabric that I used for the turban, and then that the measurement should just be by like 1.5 inches. Don't even 1.5, we still have to cut out of it. All right. So you start by folding in a little part of the edge before you now start sewing. When you fold it in, is to allow the back where you are going to turn it, because when I'm folding, I don't just use my material to wrap the art wire. I do it like I first of all finish sewing one part, cut off the excess fabric from that part, and then I'll not turn it over before I do my final hemming. So you can see it like this. Most times when you just want to use the shortcut by just folding it along the wire, you might not really get a good result. So me, this is how I do my own. So you turn it like this now. So you can see how it's looking. It's going to be very smooth. And that part I started by turning in it as well is going to be very neat. So this is how it will look. You can see all the thread that we use in sewing it is covered already. So we just go ahead and turn it like this and sew. So that's all for today's tutorials. That's all for today's class. I do hope you enjoy the training. If today is your first time stopping by Creative Ends International, do well to subscribe to this channel before leaving today. And I would also appreciate if you can recommend our channel to your friends, to your loved ones, to everyone you know that are interested in making turban and they are struggling. All right. And those that, want to really learn from online and become expert with what they are doing. This channel is one of the very best where you can hook up and you get the very best. So you can see the outcome of our work. This is what we did to get the whole of this one. All right. So thank you very much.